Hello, my name is Zainaba Ali, and today I will be discussing a real world ethical dilemma I faced as a newly appointed healthcare department administrator. This case involves conflicting responsibilities, pressures from leadership, and decisions that tested professional and personal integrity. I will share how I handled the situation, the ethical reasoning behind my actions, and recommendations for promoting integrity and leadership. The situation, a complex ethical dilemma. Following a departmental reconstructing, I became responsible for new employees, including one who approached me about this overdue annual performance appraisal. I was surprised because appraisals were to be completed by prior supervisors before the transfer. When I contacted his former supervisor, she refused, stating she hadn't been instructed by HR and feared HR repercussions for submitting a late evaluation. She deflected responsibilities, saying it's now my problem. The proposed solutions. Feeling stuck, I went to my direct supervisor. He casually told me to change the employee's transfer paperwork to reflect a more recent date, essentially making it appear the employee had just joined the team. He also said he'd ask the former supervisor to complete a full 12-month appraisal instead of 9 months. He claimed this was harmless, a routine fix used to clean up HR issues. Although he insisted it wasn't illegal, I felt this was ethically questionable. Legal counsel's advice. Legality does not equal ethicality. To be sure, I contacted legal counsel informally. They confirmed that correcting administrative mistakes with updated documentation is not illegal. However, I question whether this was truly a clerical error or a cover-up to avoid a red flag in HR. Legal counsel advised me to speak with my supervisor again, but I hesitated, knowing he disliked being questioned and perceived it as disloyalty. What I decided to do. Ultimately, I made 3 key decisions. First, I refused to change any official records. Second, instead of confronting my supervisor, I chose to approach human resources confidentially to report the issue and request procedural guidance. I also documented the entire incident from my records to protect myself and uphold my responsibility as a leader. Alternative solutions. To resolve the issue, I proposed a collaborative solution. The former supervisor would evaluate the employee's performance for the 10 months she oversaw him, while I would contribute an assessment based on the past 60 days under my supervision. HR could then compile a complete evaluation. This ensured transparency and honored the employee's right to fair feedback. Ethical framework. Deontological ethics. I applied deontological ethics, which emphasizes doing the right thing because it's inherently right, not because it leads to better outcomes. From this view, falsifying dates or misleading HR, even under pressure, is unethical. My duty as a leader was to act with honesty regardless of the fallout or inconvenience. Let's take a closer look at the deontological ethics, one of the primary ethical frameworks that guided my decision making in this case. Deontology, rooted in the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, emphasizes that actions are morally right or wrong based on adherence to the rules and duties, not based on the outcomes they produce. So even though altering the transferring documents might have resolved the performance appraisal issue quickly and without legal consequences, from a deontological standpoint, that action is still unethical because it involves deception or misrepresentation. As a healthcare administrator, I have a duty to uphold honesty, transparency, and trust. Even if I might have pleased my supervisor by complying or even avoided internal scrutiny, I would have violated a core professional responsibility. Deontology is about maintaining personal and organizational integrity, doing the right thing because it's right, not because it's convenient or effective. In this case, my refusal to change the dates on the transfer document was grounded in that sense of moral obligation. The framework helped me remain confident in my actions, even though I faced pressures from the higher ups. Theory of justice, Rawls' veil of ignorance. I also drew from Rawls' theory of justice, especially the idea of the veil of ignorance. It asks us to make the decision as if we don't know our position in the scenario. What if we're the employee whose records was being manipulated, or the HR manager discovering falsified data? This lens reminded me that integrity benefits everyone, regardless of rank. Now let's consider a justice-based framework, specifically John Rawls' theory of justice and its central concept of the veil of ignorance. This theory asks us to imagine we are designated rules or making decisions without knowing our own position in the situation, whether we're the manager, the employee, or someone else affected by these outcomes. In this ethical dilemma, the veil of ignorance helped me look past the immediate pressure and think more universally. If I were the employee, I would want my evaluation to be fair and based on accurate information. If I were an HR manager, I would want transparency in the appraisal process. If I were a colleague observing this behavior, I'd expect leadership to model integrity. This approach reinforced my belief that changing official records, no matter how minor it might seem, undermines fairness and accountability. And when fairness erodes in a workplace, true trust follows. The Rawls model encourages us to consider equity and consistency as a foundation principle for all workplace systems, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's hard. Future actions and organizational integrity. This situation exposed cracks in our organizational processes. To prevent future dilemmas, I recommend that HR clarify appraisal procedures during transfers, reinforce a culture of truth-telling, and providing training for leaderships on navigating ethical gray areas. It's also vital to empower employees to report concerns without fear of repercussion. Final thoughts. Leadership with integrity. In conclusion, leadership is not just about managing people or processes. It's about guiding with principles. When faced with ethical pressures, even from above, I chose integrity. I believe these are the moments that define us. By acting ethically, we not only protect our careers, but we also strengthen the organizations we serve.